Hey everybody, Scott with Nueva Obscura. As you can see, Alexis is right over here. She's putting the final touches on a video that we are about to come out, the video you're about to see. It's a full half-hour interview with local musician JD Nash, but without further ado, here's our interview with JD Nash. First Dance with Mary Jane.
Yeah.
Is that about memories of being high, or were you actively high when you wrote that?
That's a funny question. I saw that one and I was like, well, you know, how much can I get away with saying? What I like to say about the First Dance with Mary Jane is it is probably about 60% true story and 40% like embellishment.
As all good stories are.
Right. Yeah. And I leave that up to the listener to decide themselves as to not offend my own mother. But the fun of it is that, like, if it's not a story about me personally in that song, it is absolutely a story about friends that I grew up with. And definitely First Dance with Mary Jane is me in my mid to late 20s. I got in trouble for like drinking very young. I'm in a small town. There's nothing else to do. And so the way the story actually goes is that my brother showed up to the party that I was at, and it's my older brother, and I got busted because I was drinking with his friends at that party, and my mom comes and picks me up. Doesn't take me home because I might not have seen the next day of life if my dad had found out about it. And she takes me to a friend's house, and I never touched anything again. And I was like 13 years old, which is young, right? But we're in New Mexico. We're not beating around the bush here. It's a real thing.
Yeah.
I did not drink again until I was about 27 or 28. And it definitely activated all the things that my mom was worried about it activating, and maybe every mom worries about activating it. And I was playing at a band. We were getting popular and having a good time, and as you know, you don't always get paid to play music with money. Nope. But you always could get paid in booze.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a big element to that, and trying and really figuring out, like, you know what, this is not serving me anymore. It's causing more harm than good, despite all the social things that it's bringing me, all of the social recognition and, you know, becoming the life of the party. Started to deteriorate something inside of me, and like that's where that song starts with, and then add a little bit of embellishment about extra stuff like cocaine, mescaline, and you'll see every time we play that live, me and Ken, the keyboard player, look at each other. A little bit of mescaline. Yeah, right. Maybe.
Okay, so you named the album after a song on the album.
Yeah.
Is there something special about that song?
Yeah. I think it kind of like characterized. It definitely is like one of my favorite songs that I've written, and it was the song that I felt had the most power behind it, and maybe a little bit more of a universal message. In general, what really happened was, for that song, there was one day in the summer where I was like, holy cow, like the river is dry. Now that's a normal occurrence for us. But looking at a dry riverbed for something that my entire life I've seen running even at small levels or small amounts, I always saw water in it, and that was the first time I had ever seen that it was dry in that spot. Mm-hmm. As we know, further south, you know, it gets dry. It dries up every year, all the time. Like they suck it dry for irrigation, whatever's going on, global warming, everything. All of it adds up together. But it just hit my brain, and I was like, wow. This is a profound moment. This is something to think about. And I ended up going to El Paso for a funeral for my wife's, her grandparents had passed away in succession. Like, it was like, you know, a few months apart. And we were sitting in their house, and they were all visiting and talking and telling stories. And her mom told this story. So my mother-in-law told this story about when she was a kid in Sunland Park, New Mexico, which is on the border of El Paso. She was talking about a pet duck that she had, and that she would take the dog for a walk, and the duck would follow them to the river. They'd go to the river, the Rio Grande, and she'd throw a stick in there, and the dog would play fetch, and the duck would play in there and stuff. But then on the way back, she would have to carry the duck. But she had to interject. I would throw a stick into the river, and my dog and the duck would go play fetch. And then she turned and addressed everybody and said, "That was when the river had water in it." And my brain just went, and I felt so guilty and so bad. But I always bring my guitar with me when I travel, and I had lyrics, because she said that was when the river had water in it. And I just started saying, when we had water. Whoa, when we had water. And then my brain just started rolling with it and came up with all the lyrics. I wrote the song in 2 hours.
Wow.
And so it just had like so much of a statement, and I was like, well, this is a good song for the time. And this album is about New Mexico. It's about my hometown, both Moriarty and Albuquerque. And the song really is kind of like this futuristic tale of somebody looking at the river and saying, like, that was when we had water to drink. When we had clean water and we had water to drink.
But it's almost like that dystopian moments now. It's almost not even a far-flung future. But
Right.
Well, move on to this next question. Which was the most emotionally challenging song for you to write and to record? Because those are like different kinds of emotions that you and performing too. Yeah.
So maybe not. Like, I don't know if there were like any really big emotional challenges to this record. That's to be for the next record, I think. and I definitely have songs on that I previously released that were emotionally taxing and challenging, and I almost didn't even put them out. But this one, I'd say the most emotional song to perform, and that goes for our whole band. Because despite the fact that I am a solo artist, like my band is JD Nash and the Rash of Cash, and that came about that this is the group of musicians. We had to name ourselves. We had to name the project because they were going to be the band that I play with, so I could record with as well.
Yeah.
And so the very last song on the record is It Ain't Even. And it's one of those songs that like it adapts and it takes on new meaning as we play it, because the line is, "It ain't even bad as I thought it would be," which, I mean, if that's not the most New Mexican thing you've ever heard. But yeah, it ain't even bad as I thought it would be. It's kind of like a pick yourself up song, and like your biggest challenge is not right now. Your biggest challenge is ahead of you. I don't really know what drove me to write that, other than I had these lyrics and I sat on them for a while. But at the very end, one of the most interesting things is we talked about Edgar Wonder and working with him. I was showing him the group of songs that I wanted to record, and we had to round out 10 songs for the album, and showed him that, and I was like, but this one, I don't know what to do with it. I have this line, and I have these chords, and I have this verse. The start of the song is, "It ain't even bad as I thought it would be," and he's like, that's not a verse. Boom, total switch in perspective. He's like, that's a chorus. And I was like, whoa. And then the verse came out at that point. I'm like, now here's all these things I want to say about this. But the song is incredibly emotional because it takes on whatever we are struggling in or struggling with as a band, or personally in the band, everybody in the band. It, like, you can throw it into that song.
Yeah. And so it changes, it evolves.
Totally. Yeah, I mean, I did not write it about, I mean, I know this question was on there, but I didn't write it about going through cancer treatment or getting cancer. In fact, that didn't happen until I was done recording the album. But that song in particularly takes on a new perspective and all of that, where it's kind of like a, whoa, this song I wrote
like is going to be a mantra that I use throughout this process. You know, so it's very odd. It's the universe works in mysterious ways.
And it's kind of a similar thing to what an audience goes through. I think sometimes when people listen to an album or see a work of art, they kind of put themselves into it too.
Yeah.
But it's almost like, especially with this track, you made it, and now you get to be the odd. It's like continuing to live through you and evolve through you. It's like that object that you made is now a life of its own, and you get to witness that too. You get to live that as well.
And I think those are the workings of a good song, and by all means, like, that's not for me to judge whether a song is good or not, you know. I like it, it's gonna get recorded. But yeah, like when we listen to stuff, we really want it to have this extra meaning. We connect most with something that resonates with us and speaks to us and tells us to do something or feel something. And so yeah, I mean, I can only hope that song does it for other people, but I definitely know, like, even in the band, like, it's sacrilege to put it in the middle of a set. Yeah, sorry everybody, you're gonna hear it at the end of our sets for a long time to come, because it really is like, all right, let's knock it down.
And we've already kind of talked about this, but you're at Sonic Ranch out in Texas.
Yeah.
Tell me about the location, the production process.
Yeah, so this is so cool. I had to remember to mention this. We were even talking about bands, like you were talking about, like, the persona in the show. One of these bands that I had heard about a long time ago, where it's like, oh, they step on stage and people go for the show first, was And You Will Know Us by the Trail of Dead.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And You Will Know Us by our Trail,
Trail of Dead.
By the Trail.
Trail of Dead, yeah.
And You Will Know Us by the Trail of Dead. I remember hearing of them and the fact that they go on and they just thrash the stage. And that was kind of like the appeal. Like, people wanted to see them just thrash the stage. And they're an amazing band too, musically. But Jason Reese is one of the primary members of that band. And they played at the Launchpad in Albuquerque. And this is me being, you know, I'm like, oh, I love this band, but I don't know what any of them look like. Like, me and Isla, my wife, are hanging out at Sister Bar. They're playing at Launchpad, and we're hanging out at Sister Bar, and we just happened to, like, start hanging out with this guy next to us, and he's so inquisitive. He's like, yeah, what are you guys doing tonight? And we're like, gonna go watch Trail of Dead. Oh, cool. That's my band. And it's Jason Reese, and we start talking to him about music, and I was just like, oh my gosh, dude, your new album's so good. The drums sound amazing. Little did I know he also plays guitar. I mean, I'd never seen them live before, so I was really stoked about it. But he was just kind of like, thanks. Wasn't me, that was Sonic Ranch. And I was like, of course you guys recorded it at Sonic Ranch. And there's always been lore in New Mexico and this area about Sonic Ranch, because it's the closest studio we have, and not the closest studio we have, but the closest studio that has that kind of gear.
Yeah.
The access to that gear. And we know so many bands that have recorded there. For me, it was at the drive-in. And then, you know, Trail of Dead, I know they've recorded previous albums there. But I had no idea that they had recorded that one there. And in my head, my first thing was like, I'm like, yeah, man, I wish I could record there. And I said that to him, and he was like, you should go record there. And I was like, I probably can't afford it, though. And he's like, you'd be surprised. And I was like, oh my gosh, is this guy egging me on? And he's like, call up Tony. Tell him Jason Reese sent you. He'll give you a good deal. And I was like, this guy's unreal. But then we went and watched them, and I sat and I thought on it. I'm like, I'm gonna call up Tony.
Yeah, why not? When someone makes that offer, you can
record there, you know. And so I got the price and pieced together what I thought was reasonable for a band like us that we could do. We recorded it in 4 days. That is quite an achievement. It's a lot to pack in there. But you have access to the studio 24 hours a day, locked out.
Yep.
The gear is always on for you. There's a library of guitars that you can't even imagine getting to play on anywhere else, including the fact that Not Tryna is like, has this little section that is an homage to ZZ Top. I played it on Billy Gibbons' guitar.
No way.
Absolutely, dude.
That is fantastic.
And I had to. Like, it might not have even been the right tone which I don't make that determination. Like, it was there. I got it. I recorded it on Billy Gibbons' guitar through a 57 Fender Champ amp at 5, breaking up perfectly, ZZ top tone instantly. And that's what it was. It was amazing. You stay there, you live in there. They feed you. It's catered on everything, all inclusive. It's like an all inclusive vacation for musicians. So that way, all you have to worry about is what you're doing creatively.
Well, and you guys had been probably playing that material for quite a while at that point too. So what was that when you went into record? Were you doing a lot of ISOs, or were you like in a? I always loved recording in a room with the full band, you know.
So we definitely geared up for it. Where you know, amazingly enough, some of those songs didn't get wrapped up until like 3 weeks before the studio session, like the arrangements that we wanted. And even then, like, you still leave a little bit of magic for the studio. Like, it ain't even totally a studio song. Like, I had the riffs. We kind of knew how it was going to go. My bandmates had heard a soft demo, but it wasn't a song that we pre-produced. We did every other song, like where we got together and we tracked this idea of here's what we're going to do. Here's how the composition goes. But yeah, the idea was we record together in the same room and we live track everything as much as we could and keep the bass tracks as live tracks. And we did.
Yeah.
But and that's one of the big appeals for that studio is there's so much isolation that you can have, and then they have the tracking room. Take your pick from one of the 5 studios on the site, because there's 5 different studios. But yeah, otherwise, like, we geared up for it by booking as many shows as we could for the month of September before we went in. And yeah, we just shed through the songs and worked out things on stage for the month of September in 2023.
And then you move over to this studio. What was it? What was it like being isolated out there, and like just almost in that bubble that you're talking about? Everything catered, everything provided for, but then just away from everything.
So that's the only way I like to record, and that's kind of been a point of friction in my previous bands that I've had, is that you know, you have to pay for that. You have to take time off. Like, if you have another job, like, you're gonna take a week off, we're gonna travel. I had gotten to do that with only one other band where we recorded in Eudora, Kansas a long time ago. And it's hard to put your focus all into something if you don't do something isolated from home. You know, I think it would have been a different story if we all were recording in town and oh, see you tomorrow. We're all going to go home and break for dinner and do our normal routines. They put something out of the ordinary into your life during the process. And this place is more isolated than anywhere I've ever recorded. Like, it's a 7,000 acre pecan. Canned pecan,
like orchard. Yeah,
and it has a world-class studio, and yeah, the guy that owns it, like, he doesn't need money from recording. Like, I mean, if you have pecans in your food somewhere, it probably came from his orchard,
right?
Like, pecan sandies, I'm pretty sure, are his pecans. Like, and now I've said pecan and pecan, like, I don't know if pronounce anything, but yeah, no, the isolation is amazing. Like, there's nothing else to do. Like, it's a 45-minute drive from El Paso, and the bunkhouses are beautiful, and we got to spend time and walk around the farm, and honestly, most of it, as much as you could do other things, we had 4 days. We spent most of it in the studio. Even at night after we were done tracking, we spent time listening back. We spent time jamming just for fun, just getting the most out of the experience.
Yeah, that's very cool.
Yeah.
I know we touched on it a little bit earlier. Are you okay if we talk about the cancer treatment
Totally,
stuff?
yeah, and all that other stuff is definitely off record for sure.
Oh no, yeah. So you record the album and then you get this diagnosis. How has that been as you're releasing the album and going through all the hype and the energy and the release of this big creative thing?
Yeah. Well, it's it's pretty wild, like just how things work out. That's all I can say, because I had a tumor that showed up overnight, and it was after we finished tracking the album. We had 4 days: Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Monday night we celebrated, did everything you would do, and I'm a clean boy, so I shower daily. And then on Tuesday morning, when I woke up and showered, like there was a tumor in my thigh area, and I went to breakfast that morning, and I just kind of looked like a ghost, and my bandmates are like, "Are you all right?" And I was like, "I just found a lump like the size of a golf ball." And of course, what else could it be, So, that drive home was definitely, did the yin and the yang of that experience for sure. And then my next 4 months were full of unknowns. It took me 3 months to get an MRI in Albuquerque, which is wild. And the MRI said that it was non-cancerous and that it was a good candidate for surgical removal, because where it was very uncomfortable. And I was like, cool, finally. And so it took me until February to get surgery. So in that timeline, we recorded in October, got the MRI very end of December. It was actually like the day before, it was December 30th.
Wow.
And doctor's appointment scheduled for surgery February 12th, and it was removed, and within 4 hours I was barely out of anesthesia, like coming from waking up from anesthesia at home, and I got a call from Loveless Cancer Center, and I was like, well, I guess it was cancerous. And I kind of remembered the doctor saying like, hey, this was very suspicious. I was careful cutting it out. I wish I remember my surgeon's name, the general surgeon, but he had seen it before, and he's like one of the best surgeons in the state. And he works for Loveless, and he saw it and he recognized, he's like, oh, I've cut this out before. And it's unfortunate because it probably is more common of an occurrence that way for this type of cancer, because it's myxoid liposarcoma, and it's less than 1% of cancer cases. So it's rare enough to where it's like people get misdiagnosed with it all the time. And so anyways, had it been discovered by biopsy, I wouldn't have had to do chemotherapy, but it wasn't discovered by biopsy. It was cut out by a general surgeon. So I had to do 2 cycles of chemo and 25 radiation treatments, which equates to 25 days of radiation therapy. And then after that, I had to do a surgical re-excision. So from February, surgery, took me a while to get to see a doctor, and I actually ended up going to Mayo Clinic in Phoenix, which was like one of the best decisions I've made in terms of that. And did 1 cycle of chemo out here, did 1 cycle of chemo out there in May, or May here, June there, and then radiation was mid-July through the end of August, and then surgery September of 2024, so just last year. And then I've just been recovering. Yeah, but it was wild. Like, flash a picture on the screen of my bald head. I say I looked like Voldemort.
And how's it been performing and being with the band and stuff? How was it during that process?
Yeah, so I mean, I lived in Phoenix for chemo cycles are through, the one for mine was AIM treatment, and that's like it's one of the oldest treatments for chemo, or one of the oldest forms of chemo, and like incredibly effective. But it's like basically broad spectrum warfare on your cells. So I had to stay out there for 3 weeks. When I was here, I did my first cycle, and I was kind of sick for a while after it. Started to recover, had to go straight out to Phoenix to do my next cycle. I stayed out there for 3 to 4 weeks, I think, and as soon as I came back, my bandmates masked up. We did a rehearsal. I played Summerfest, or we didn't actually get to play. I was scheduled to play Summerfest in Nob Hill, and we got rained out. But I was there, and my band was prepared to play, and I got to sell some records to people who were waiting for that. But yeah, playing kind of helped get through it. You know, I had my guitar with me in my bed when I was sick, and I would be getting my infusions, and I'm tied up to the IV machines and getting all my infusions, and I'm sitting there playing guitar, trying to keep my dexterity and not get any nerve loss, which is common. And I mean, I think overall, like, you know, it's terrible. It was rough, but I mean, you know, you tend to forget like really bad, terrible things and how bad they are after you get past them. So part of me would almost say it wasn't that bad, but it definitely was pretty bad.
Or ain't so bad.
We made it ain't even.
It ain't even.
Yeah, it ain't even as bad as I thought it would be. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But yeah, you know, like we made the best of it. Like me and my wife made the best of it. We stayed out there with a friend. Mayo Clinic is amazing.
Yeah.
I can't. It's hard for me to walk into any other medical institution after that. Like, just the patient experience is so elevated. I mean, as I was posting on social media with me playing, I got reached out to right away, and they were like, can you sign a waiver and can we use this? And then every time I've gone, and I don't know, it's suffice to say I did a lot of preparation, you know, like ahead of time. I knew what I was going to be up against, and you know, started getting serious about the gym and just trying to get ready. Called it prehab. Yeah, I have to go every 3 months for scans now for 3 years.
Wow.
So yeah. Worst part of it is every 6th month. Yeah, that's right. Every 6th month, I have to do a full body MRI that takes 2 hours and 15 minutes. It's wild. And they entomb you. They like put a cast over you.
Oh,
They're like, you can't
no.
move. But I was smart enough to get prescribed Ativan for the last one. I was like, what was that? That was not bad. Should have done this the last 2.
Well, I think we're hitting at 6 o'clock right now.
Yeah.
I do have one more question.
Yeah.
What is it that you would like people who are listening to the record to take away from it? What's something that you hope audiences are picking up? Maybe favorite part of it for you, or something that you're especially proud of, or yeah.
I think that I want people to know that this is authentically New Mexican music. Like, you don't get something like this anywhere else. And what we have in New Mexico in terms of music, and we don't have a whole lot of industry, but we make up for it in the talent and the songs that we write. And definitely for local people listening to it, and everybody should just be listening to local music. It's the music of our culture. It is like we currently are creating cultural things, and music and arts are a huge part of our culture. And if you're not out supporting local music and listening to music that your neighbors are making, then you're not really doing what music was meant to do, you know.
I got rid of my Spotify account,
Yeah.
and with that same amount of money every month, I try and buy one local album, right?
That's great.
Whether
Yeah.
it's on Bandcamp or buy the vinyl or
Yeah.
get the vinyl, and then because I agree, that's what stitches our community together. That's
Yeah.
what kind of ties us together as people and as humans, and not as commodities.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, and we have so many opportunities for people to even just go out and watch a band. Like, there's nothing like seeing new faces at something like dance or, you know, move their heads to, or whatever, bob their heads, smile, point, laugh.
Well, and I know you
Do whatever, everything that the arts have you do, like all the emotions, like you can do it with somebody that is amazing in your town.
I know you would probably have more than one, but Who is one artist or musician out there right now that you're really excited about
Yeah.
here in Albuquerque?
Oh my God, yeah, it's so hard for me to pick one. I would say right now my favorite songwriter in town, and actually was a big influence for me producing a whole album, and then also producing it on vinyl, is Jimmy Devaney. So Jimmy Devaney and the Holdfast Union.
Okay.
They're great.
And
Yeah.
they have an album. We'll be covering
Yes.
it next time on Nuevo Obscura.
Yes, they do. Yep. Yeah.
JD, thank you.
Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah. We're gonna be jamming your record for probably the next like 5 or 6 days, and getting some cool shots of it and stuff. So
Watch that swirl spin. I don't know if I'm gonna make those second time.
Okay.
They'll just be black vinyl. So
we'll get you the footage too if you want
Yeah.
to use it for your own reels
Yeah.
and stuff.